Really interesting shapeshifter of the week. It's Claire Reid, founder of something called Real Gardening. It's a wonderful story. It's a wonderful business story. It's a wonderful South African story. And it's a wonderful personal story of a true entrepreneur. And Claire Reid joins me now from our studio at 7:02. Claire, a very good evening to you. Thanks for coming in. Fascinated by your story, I really am. You are, and pardon the pun, a serial entrepreneur. You really are. You do seem to be someone who, from a very early age, was able to do amazing things. Just tell us a little bit of the journey about how you got into this gardening enterprise you're in.
I've always been entrepreneurial, always looking at ways in which to make pocket money. I used to make greeting cards when I was about 7 years old and go and sell them to neighbours, through to spray painting people's dustbins with numbers when the wheelie bins just were released by Pick It Up. So I've always looked at ways in which I can add value and create money along the way. And one of the suggestions from my parents when I was just about 16 was if I grew vegetables at home, they would buy them from me. And it was just when people weren't really big into this organic thing yet, but it was coming. And I think my parents were thinking, well, Claire's always shown a lot of interest inside the house. I've always known I wanted to become an architect. I've always shown interest in, redoing my bedroom and flooring and walls and that kind of thing, but not really any interest outside of the house. So I think this was a way to try and get me to do something in the garden and something that would benefit them and the family. And I love the idea of being able to sell the vegetables, and I thought it would be a really easy thing to get started. Little did I know that it was one of the most difficult things I had ever tried to do, was the simple act of planting a garden.
Why was it so difficult? It's fairly obvious, but what were the difficulties that hit you?
Sure. The first thing was my parents said whatever I spent to set up this vegetable garden, I would have to pay back to them with interest. And this was going to be the first time I was going to learn about such horrible things as interest and paying back debt. And so I was very careful with the amount of money I was going to spend setting up this garden. We lived in Parkhurst at the time, so we had a very small space available that was in full sunlight, probably about the size of a front door, about 2 square meters. So I'd made a list that I could plant 5 spinach and 6 beans and 8 tomatoes and so on. So I went down to the local garden shop with my father, and I remember taking a packet of tomato seeds. First of all, I didn't know which packet to choose, so I just chose whichever one had the best picture. I wanted to personally be told this is the one that you should be planting for the best tomatoes in your area, but no one was telling me that. So I took the one with the best pictures off the shelf. I remember rattling it near my ear and thinking it sounded like there was an awful lot of seed in that packet. So I turned to the sales assistant and asked her, well, how many seeds are in the packet? She laughed and said, well, people don't ask such things, but probably about 400 or 500 seeds. And I went, well, I have no idea who in this area has space to plant 400 or 500 tomatoes. I don't. I have space to plant 3. So where can I buy 3 tomato seeds? She laughed and said, this is the way seed has been sold since forever, and this is the way it will be sold. So either I buy the full packet or I don't. So begrudgingly, I'm putting these packets of seed. That it really was, from a waste point of view, just ridiculous, because I knew now I'm buying far more than I needed. And then we moved over to the fertilizer aisle, and I'm being told I need this fertilizer for the beans and that fertilizer for the tomatoes, and everything's adding up, and I'm having to buy 2 kilogram bags and being told I needed to use a teaspoonful. And I spent well over 200 Rand, and this was now 12 years ago, or even further, 14 years ago, and I spent well over 200 Rand to get 2 square meters set up. And I thought, well, this isn't a great business, because I'm never going to be able to grow the amount of vegetables I need out of that area, to let alone pay back the cost it's taking to set it up. And that really was the first downfall of my vegetable growing empire.
All right, so you've positioned the problems, you've seen the obstacles. Now your solution is something called Real Gardening. And what was it?
Yeah, so when I got into the garden to plant, I was frustrated that now the seed that I had fought over, I couldn't get it to stay in the ground where it needed to be. I would take my finger out, the seed would come back out in my finger.
Oh, I've been there.
and then I thought, I didn't know, a turnaround, I can't remember what have I planted where. Did I know then the hardy-dars are going to come out and take the seed out of the ground anyway. And then when I went to go and water it, it all popped back up to the surface. I thought I needed an extra pair of hands to get the job done. I went inside and asked Maggie, our domestic worker, to come and help me. And Maggie said, well, she hates gardening. She's tried it before. It didn't work for her, and it was, a complete waste of time. And I said, well, Maggie, what's your story? Her story was very similar to mine, although in her story she had to walk about 2 kilometers to collect water. Where she lived in Rustenburg, there wasn't municipal water at the time. So I thought, well, is there a way that I could get the seed to stay in the ground exactly where it needed to be, that I could see where it was once I'd walked away from that garden, and that I would know exactly where to water, and I'm not now having to take this precious commodity and put it all over a bare patch of earth in the hope that there was still a seed in there. So Real Gardening really solved all of those problems for me. And what Real Gardening is it's a seed tape, for want of a better word. It encases vegetable or herb seeds at the correct depth and distance apart in a biodegradable paper tape. And it's got a special ink and a special fertilizer that's been developed for us. And it's all color-coded, so red is tomato, purple is beetroot, and so on. And to plant it, you just place it in the ground upright so that you can see the colored area above the soil. So it places the seed. The seed is almost suspended in the paper at the correct depth in the soil. You close up the furrow around the paper, but you'll still see the paper above that shows. And then you can go along and you can know where exactly to water because it's indicated on the paper. So you're saving up to 80% in water consumption during the germination phase. And then when anything starts sprouting out of the paper, you know that that's what you've grown. So if something starts sprouting elsewhere, you know it's not what you've planted and pull it out, it's a weed. And then it stops the water pushing all the seed to the lowest part of your garden and you have a huge mess there. So it really does enable you to plant efficiently. And now instead of having to buy copious amount of seed in packets that, no one worries about the quantity, we pre-pack it into household gardens. So you can buy a salad garden, a herb garden, a vegetable garden that's pre-packed to plant out that 2 square meters because that's how I started. And it costs 80 Rand and you've got everything you need in that one box, including companion planting flowers that help with pest prevention.
It passes the classic test of a great idea and an original idea that when you hear it, you think, that is so obvious. Why didn't someone think of it before? Which is the classic. It's brilliant. I mean, it's an amazing solution. Is it a global first? Has anyone else done it?
So that was the thing. When I first went to the patent attorneys and they said to me, well, Claire, I'm sure someone's come up with this. Fast forward, no one had. So we do have the patents in a few countries on it, on the product. And it is a first. There are similar products of a seed blown almost on tissue paper, seed mats that you would place under soil and place soil on top.
Yeah, I've seen those actually. I've seen seed mats, yeah.
So what makes our product different is that the seed is suspended exactly where it needs to be, that it's color-coded, that you can see where to water, you can see where your plant's going to come out, and that it's pre-packed in gardens, as we've also got our garden in a box in the process of being trademarked. So that really, it did end up coming out as a first for us.
Okay, Claire, we've established how you came to produce this product. Where are you up to now as a business? What do you do, what do you sell, and how do you sell it?
We manufacture the product out of our own premises in Blairgowrie, in Randburg. We sell it online. We have it in select retailers, and we've just set up a network of our local agent trainers on the ground around South Africa in more township areas, which are selling it on the ground. We're linking it into a school program. We've been planting school gardens for 5 years now. Over the last year, we went into a further 280 schools and communities, planting sustainable gardens to feed people. And we've now linked that in with our agent trainer network to try and grow it sustainably, so it becomes businesses for each of these individuals on the ground. And then we also have our custom branded side of our business, where the tape itself and the packaging is a blank canvas. We then join forces with the likes of Nando's and Unilever and Discovery, where we've done custom gardens or hand seed strips for them to use in various cause-related marketing campaigns, trying to show that we can have a positive impact while making a profit.
So they're branded. They would carry the brand of Discovery or whoever.
They do, yeah.
All right. Is it commercially viable, or are you reliant on a sort of CSI kind of funding here?
No, so we see ourselves as a social enterprise. We part of our model, the school garden concept at the moment, has been solely a CSI grant funded one. We're trying to shift that more into a sustainable model through our agent network on the ground. At the moment, that has been solely grant funded and CSI. However, our selling in retail and online, and now we're starting to sell in Dubai, and then it will be the UK, the USA, and Japan.
And the world.
Slowly.
If I go into major South African nurseries, will I see your product?
No. So our probably most major nursery would be Lifestyle Garden Centre. We're trying to do a lot more of our sales online. Our product proves very effective to be able to send. It's a very light product that doesn't take up much space. So trying to penetrate the market more through online sales. But we do have a few nurseries and retailers dotted around the country. But really online is our core focus.
What's the website?
www.reelgardening.co.za.
Real gardening, as in reeling things in. So listening to you, I'm absolutely convinced you're not resting on this while you develop it. What other ideas have you got up your sleeve? Where are you going next?
I think the big thing that we're starting to focus on is how do we now get people to be sustainable in small spaces. So really understanding the vertical aspects of our product and the containers in which it can get planted in. And that's really where I'm excited about understanding how to create a more packaged solution in that way.
What, a complete garden, including the box, the container and everything?
Yeah, so a complete but very, very simple. Everything about our brand, our message, our way of doing things, it needs to be simple and effective, and obviously cost effective as well. So we really are focused on trying to understand how we can provide a complete solution.
Is your idea defendable? It's brilliant, but it looks like it's quite easily replicable. Someone could easily steal that, make a slight tweak and claim it's original.
That's the reality with many products. What we're looking more at is our brand and people wanting to get behind the planting revolution. People wanting to understand that we are a brand that's handmade. We empower previously unemployed mothers within communities. There's a social impact with regards to the utilization of our product, the way in which our buy one, donate one model that we're slowly rolling out from our international sales filters into doing good at the more of the base of the pyramid. And I think buying into the brand ethos and message and structure of our company will protect us in many instances. We did have about 4 years ago another company that did try to knock our product off, and it was amazing how so many of what I would like to call our brand and just angels in a way just got on board with trying to tell us what these people were doing, and in quite a way in which they didn't want other people to support someone that was knocking off what we were doing. And the other company actually ended up not going any further with pursuing manufacture of the product. So, we have patented aspects, and we have been able to defend some of that patent, and we will continue to do so. But I think as long as it's founded on a strong brand message, that people are buying into the planting revolution, the understanding of the conscious movement, the understanding of together we grow, the understanding of where food comes from, and teaching children, how to look after the earth, and it will provide back to you. Our brand aligns with that, and that's really what people are buying into.
Claire, it's a fantastic story. Really is. Inspiring story. Claire Reid, founder of Real Garden. Thank you so much for coming in tonight to be our Shapeshifter of the Week, and best of luck. I hope it goes from strength to strength.
Thank you.
Claire Reid, thanks for joining me on The Money Show.